They didn't just create heavy metal, they gave it meaning. This is the real story of why the world still loves Black Sabbath. It all began in Birmingham, England, a city of factories, steel, and endless smoke. In the late 1960s, four young men, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, and Ozzy Osbourne, were just trying to escape the gray life of working-class England. But what they created together would change music forever. Tony Iommi had once lost the tips of his fingers in a factory accident, an injury that should have ended his guitar career. But instead, he built his own metal fingertips and tuned his guitar lower to ease the pain. That sound, dark, heavy, and haunting, became the DNA of heavy metal. Their early songs weren't about love or parties. They wrote about war, madness, corruption, and the supernatural, reflections of a world full of fear. When the song Black Sabbath hit the airwaves in 1970, people had never heard anything like it. Thunderous guitars, dark lyrics, and Ozzy's eerie voice created something raw, powerful, and honest. The critics called it evil. The fans called it real. By the time Paranoid was released, Black Sabbath had become the voice of a generation. Songs like War Pigs, Iron Man, and Paranoid weren't just heavy, they were statements. They spoke to young people who felt lost in a changing world. Their sound wasn't polished. It was pain, anger, and truth wrapped in distortion. But with fame came chaos. Success brought exhaustion and endless touring. The band members drifted apart, struggling to balance creativity with self-destruction. In 1979, Ozzy Osbourne was fired after years of addiction and instability. It could have been the end of Sabbath, but it wasn't. Ronnie James Dio stepped in, and the band found new life with albums like Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. The sound evolved, faster, sharper, and more melodic, yet still pure Sabbath at its core. Tony Iommi remained the heart of the band, guiding it through every storm. Even when the lineup changed, that spirit, the darkness and hope, never left. Decades passed and the world changed, but the name Black Sabbath still meant power. Bands from Metallica to Iron Maiden to Slipknot would call them gods, pioneers, and inspiration. They weren't just musicians, they were the architects of heavy metal itself. Then, in 2012, after decades apart, the original members reunited. Older, wiser, and scarred by time, they recorded 13, a final chapter that echoed their beginnings. Songs like God is Dead and End of the Beginning reminded fans why they fell in love with Sabbath in the first place. It wasn't about fame or money. It was about facing darkness and turning it into art. In their final tour, The End, thousands of fans across the world gathered to say goodbye. It wasn't just a concert, it was a farewell to an era. People from different generations stood together singing Paranoid, Iron Man, and War Pigs, knowing this was history. So why does the world still love Black Sabbath? Because their music was never fake. Because every riff, every lyric, every scream came from real pain, real life, and real truth. They spoke for the outsiders, the dreamers, the people who never fit in. They made darkness beautiful and showed that even in the heaviest sound, there can be light. From factory floors to global stages, from tragedy to triumph, Black Sabbath proved that heavy metal isn't just a genre, it's a heartbeat. And that's why, more than 50 years later, the world still loves Black Sabbath.